He's dribbling the ball with everything on the line. He's driving down the pitch. He's facing price hikes and cuts past him. Carrier Contracts tries to block him. Oh, he leaves him in the dust. He's at the edge of the box. He cuts past the nonstop group chat trash talk. He clears on goal. He shoots. Goal! Unlimited data for $25 a month forever!
Visit your local Boost Mobile store today to get unlimited data with a price that never changes. Boost Mobile. After 30 GB, customers may experience lower speeds. Customers will pay $25 a month as long as they remain active on the Boost $25 unlimited plan.
Avoiding your unfinished home projects because you're not sure where to start? Thumbtack knows homes, so you don't have to. Don't know the difference between matte paint finish and satin? Or what that clunking sound from your dryer is? With Thumbtack, you don't have to be a home pro. You just have to hire one. You can hire top-rated pros, see price estimates, and read reviews, all on the app. Download today.
It's Saturday 11th of July, I'm Jamie East, and this was a week that saw Nigel Farage facing off against Count Binface, Donald Trump back to chasing control of Greenland, England through to a World Cup quarter-final, and tributes to Welsh music legend Bonnie Tyler.
Grab a cup of something hot, put up your feet, and get up to speed on the 7 biggest stories of the week. This is the Standout 7 from the Smart 7.
It's news,
but not the news.
Reform leader Nigel Farage faced a fresh crisis this week after new allegations reported by the Sunday Times of undeclared donations. There's already a parliamentary inquiry into a £5 million donation Farage received from British cryptocurrency investor Christopher Harborne. Now, the new reporting suggested that Nigel accepted support, including security and social media staff from George Cottrell. Cottrell, also known as Posh George, has been convicted of fraud in the US. He also has involvement in cryptocurrency, and once again his donations weren't declared. Reform's Robert Jenrick walked a delicate line on Sunday as he attempted to defend his boss.
The allegation is that Nigel Farage, maybe a couple of times, stayed in the home of a personal friend. By definition, that does not fall within the rules.
Welsh Labour MP Alex Davies-Jones says it looks like Nigel might be ducked.
If it sounds like a duck, if it walks like a duck, it's probably a duck. And this stinks to people. And it does reek of potential corruption or scandal, and people don't like it. If you are unsure, you just declare it anyway. Why wouldn't you? If it's all above board, then just declare it.
Labour peer Harriet Harman said with an investigation already ongoing, Nigel needs to watch his step.
He's attacking and trying to delegitimise the system. And if it comes to a finding that he has been in breach of the rules, the way he's conducted himself will be taken into account as an aggravating fact when it comes to the penalty.
Sure enough, Reform Party leader Nigel Farage took dramatic action on Tuesday in a bid to diffuse mounting speculation over his financial affairs. He's become increasingly agitated by reporters questioning his sources of funds and is under huge pressure from a parliamentary investigation into a £5 million donation. So, in a moment of calculated drama, he announced that he will resign his seat, but then immediately stand in the subsequent by-election.
Why should I be judged by Sky News and their ilk? Why should they be the people that decide my fate when, as I repeat, I've done nothing wrong?
His hope was that by painting this as a the people versus the establishment battle, it would defuse the ongoing scandal and possibly derail the investigation. However, pretty quickly, all the major parties declined to field a candidate, leaving only Count Binface prepared to face the Reform leader. Josh Babarind, Lib Dem MP for Eastbourne, explained what's going on.
He does not give a toss about ordinary people's lives. This by-election that he's now triggering is going to cost in the region of £250,000, all to try to save Nigel Farage's political career.
Nigel's plan, which appeared designed to push stories of financial irregularities off the front pages, has not worked out the way he might have hoped. And in his first interview since resigning his seat, he was back proclaiming his innocence.
I haven't broken the law in any way, and I'm firmly of the belief, backed up by strong legal opinion, that I have not broken Parliament's rules.
The stunt has drawn condemnation from across the political divide, with Tory leader Kemi Badenoch referring to Farage's fishy $5 million, and Prime Minister Keir Starmer wasn't impressed either.
Nigel Farage has been utterly exposed in this complete stunt that he was trying to set up. And it was a stunt, and everybody can see that. And there's a reason for that, and that's because he's up to his neck in sleaze.
Chancellor Rachel Reeves is allowing the by-election to go ahead, but every major party is boycotting it, leaving Farage to face Count Binface in a moment of pure political theatre. The Count made an appearance on the Today Show.
What is your appeal going to be to the people of Clacton?
Well, I'm not Nigel Farage.
The NATO summit took place this week in Ankara, Turkey, with many expecting a pretty bruising conversation between President Trump and his NATO allies. The US president had been clear about how unhappy he has been with the lack of support for his war in Iran, and he's been threatening to withdraw US troops from Europe. He had a long phone call with Vladimir Putin on Saturday, but also spoke to Ukrainian President Zelensky, who said they intended to continue the conversation in Turkey. Zelensky had been warning that Ukraine is braced for another round of Russian strikes this week, and sure enough, Kyiv was hit again early on Monday morning. He remained defiant, however, defending Ukraine's record on the battlefield.
Ukrainians have achieved tangible and impressive results. They are defending what is theirs. Every pure heart in the world expects only one thing from Ukraine: that we defeat this Russian scum.
The NATO summit got underway in Turkey on Tuesday, and the spotlight was firmly on Russia and its ongoing war in Ukraine. Russian strikes on Kyiv early on Monday morning killed at least 21 people as President Putin continues to attack civilian targets, even while he's telling President Trump that he wants to end the war. Ukrainian President Zelensky was due to meet Trump on the sidelines of the summit, and he's called for more support and air defences from allies. UK Foreign Secretary Yvette Cooper announced a fresh round of sanctions on Russia on Monday, this time targeting scientists and organisations behind nerve agents like Novichok.
We've seen these weapons used here in the UK, and so this is part of our clear response to the Russia threat that we will take seriously wherever we find it in order to keep the UK safe.
NATO Secretary-General Mark Rutte has been busy making the case that Ukraine is winning the war, repeatedly listing the level of casualties that Russia is facing on the front lines, and he had a pointed warning for anyone joining Putin's war.
If you're a young guy living in Russia and you contemplate joining the war effort, think again, because probably you will be one of the 35,000 this month, next month, the month after.
Ukraine still has ambitions to become a full NATO member, which triggered Russia's war in the first place, but President Zelensky has not given up on chasing a position in the alliance.
Ukraine belongs in NATO because NATO with Ukraine is the alliance for the future. The alliance of today must be up to the challenges of the modern world.
Zelensky has been urging European allies to send more air defence systems, and he was due to meet with President Trump on Wednesday lunchtime. NATO Secretary-General Mark Rutte says Russia continues to be a threat to Europe and NATO as Putin continues to pour money into the war.
Do more, faster, together. We don't have the luxury of time. We need capabilities now to ensure we remain ready.
The NATO summit in Turkey saw mixed news for Ukrainian President Zelensky. He had an amicable meeting with US President Trump, who did at one point refer to Zelensky as President Putin, but the message was clear: there will be no more Patriot anti-missile systems sent from the US. Trump says the US needs what it has, as the war in Iran has drawn on stockpiles, but there was a strange and intriguing proposal for Zelensky.
We're going to give a license to you to make Patriots. That's pretty cool, right? This way you can't complain that we're not giving them enough. I say, make them yourself.
It's not clear how that would work, and Trump also floated a meeting in Moscow with the Russian president, which Zelensky politely declined, pointing out that Moscow is dangerous because there are many Ukrainian drones. NATO Secretary-General Mark Rutte walked a difficult line with President Trump, managing to avoid a full-on argument between members of the alliance while also trying to avoid discussing Iran.
I strongly believe in the 21st century that you should not attack another country. It's kind of crazy to do that. It's a playbook of the 19th century or the 20th century. We don't do this in grown-up democracies anymore in the 21st century.
America spent the 4th of July weekend sweltering under a record-breaking heatwave, with thunderstorms and even hail disrupting celebrations. The US celebrations were capped by a speech from Donald Trump in Washington, in which he celebrated victory over Iran and hailed America's golden age in front of a crowd on Washington's National Mall at close to midnight. That was followed by what the White House described as the largest fireworks display in the history of the world, but the mood and tone of Trump's speech wasn't particularly festive. He devoted a section to criticism of the Republicans' new target, the rise of democratic socialism, which has been rebranded by Fox News as communism.
The Stars and Stripes cast the hammer and sickle into oblivion before, and we will do it again if necessary. I don't think it's going to be necessary. I think people have learned. They've learned what to do and how to handle it, and we're going to handle it very well.
While the World Cup is intended to create new fans for the beautiful game, showcasing soccer to new audiences, it seems to have some unintended consequences when it comes to the White House. Monday night saw the US face off against Belgium in a last 16 clash, initially without their star player Folarin Balogun, who had received a one-game ban after a red card last week. That didn't please the world's newest football fan, Donald Trump, who leaned on his friend FIFA President Gianni Infantino, the man who presented Trump with a FIFA Peace Prize. Sure enough, the red card was suspended, allowing Balogun to play, but not well as the US team crashed out against Belgium. As if that wasn't bad enough, we got an Oval Office soccer ball lesson from the US president, who apparently has also played golf with Harry Kane.
So I saw the play, and I'm a person that loves sports, and I understand sports really well. And that wasn't a foul. That wasn't even an infraction. That was two guys running full speed that happened to crash into each other.
Trump took his brand new Qatari Air Force One to Turkey for the NATO summit, and while NATO allies were braced for bruising conversations over defence spending and Iran, they may not have been expecting another round of a game called Give Me Greenland. But that's what they got. As it turned out, when President Trump arrived in Turkey for the summit, he had cooler climates on his mind. The New York Times reports that US officials have been hard at work planning a US military expansion in Greenland, along with deals on mineral rights and rights to veto, deals with any other powers. Trump sees Greenland as critical to America's defence, possibly because of his plan for a Golden Dome missile system, and he was happy to put Greenland back on the agenda on Tuesday.
That should be controlled by the United States, not by Denmark. And when they wouldn't go along with it, and with all the money we spend to help them with Russia, and we don't have to spend any money, we could remove all of our soldiers out of Europe. Because as you probably noticed, Europe's a very different place.
While there was progress at the summit for Ukraine, things are not going well in the Middle East. Throughout the week, there had been strikes exchanged between the US and Iran, and the president was sounding frustrated and annoyed with the whole ceasefire process when he spoke to reporters at the NATO summit. He said as far as he is concerned, the ceasefire is over, and referred to the Iranian leadership as scum. The US and Iran again exchanged strikes, with US Central Command saying it hit at least 90 targets, while the Iranians retaliated with strikes at Kuwait and Qatar. It's not clear, though, what the next steps might be, but Trump was back to his favourite topic, denuclearisation.
It's not a war, it's really the denuclearization of Iran. And we'll have a meeting and we'll talk about just that, just because my whole thing is not about regime change, it's not about, although I think it's regime change.
Apart from this week's Reform UK drama, we're into the final weeks of Prime Minister Keir Starmer's reign at number 10 Downing Street, as it looks increasingly likely that there'll be no challenge to Andy Burnham's leadership bid. Last weekend saw the current PM speaking to the BBC in depth about his time in charge and his decision to step down. He described an intensely personal and really tough decision, which he made with his wife and children to, as he put it, accept that his political career was over. He had a warning for Burnham too, that international issues and the need for overseas diplomacy will take up more time than he might expect, but that it's a consequence of the dangerous times we live in. He was also happy to crack some jokes about his hair gel, of all things.
So I've been asked what hair gel I use. You may or may not know that for very high-level government secrets, there's a rule that it can't be released for 30 years. So I'm going to have to come back to this one in some time.
New Health Secretary James Murray doesn't seem too worried about getting a new boss, but then he did manage to settle the resident doctors' strikes.
I'm really looking forward to Andy Burnham becoming Prime Minister. He set out his vision, a hopeful, optimistic vision, and I think there's a big sense of gratitude for what Keir's done.
However, he may have spoken too soon, as Tuesday saw NHS consultants vote to approve strike action with a mandate which extends over the next 12 months. They're looking for higher pay and a shorter working week, but with an average salary of £152,000, they may not get a lot of sympathy from the public. Murray says there is no justification for people in the top 2% of earners looking for more money, but Dr Shanu Datta of the BMA says they're worth it.
So at the heart of this, it's about our value, and pay is certainly one strand to that, but it's also about the erosion, not just of pay, but about the professionalism that NHS consultants bring.
Andy Burnham's journey to number 10 seems to be assured after nominations opened on Thursday in the one-man leadership contest. By the end of the first day, 322 MPs had backed Andy Burnham, and he needs 323 to make it a certainty. With no sign of any other contenders, he could be appointed Prime Minister by as early as July 20th, and he expressed deep gratitude to fellow Labour MPs as he promised a new approach to politics.
Strange thing to say, but I've just been in to nominate myself to be leader of the Labour Party. The nomination process has opened this morning, so glad to see some MPs going in. I'm still the only candidate in the race.
Still to come on today's Standout 7 in association with Metro, England faced Norway in Miami and tributes to a Welsh music icon. Right after this.
Before we had AT&T Business Wireless coverage, our delivery GPS wasn't the most reliable. Once our driver had to do a 14-point turn to get back on route. A 14-point turn! An influencer even live streamed the whole thing. Not good for business. Now with AT&T Business Wireless, routes are updating on the fly and deliveries are on time. And the influencer did get us 53 new followers, though.
AT&T Business Wireless. Connecting changes everything.
Welcome back.
Last Sunday night, even later than expected after heavy rain, England faced off against Mexico at the Azteca Stadium in an incredible atmosphere. 2 early goals from Jude Bellingham put England ahead, but Mexico fought back and the game finally ended 3-2 with England down to 10 men and a Harry Kane penalty the decider. Thomas Tuchel's team head to Miami now for a quarter-final against Norway on Saturday, with Captain Kane struggling to speak after he joined in the sing-song.
Yeah, it was a crazy game. We had to fight. We had to find something. I've just been singing there. I can't really talk, but all the occasion, the team, everything against us, we found a way.
Saturday night sees England facing Norway in Miami with a semi-final spot on the line. The game is scheduled for a 10 p.m. kickoff, but the weather in Miami is scorching hot and lightning is expected, which could once again delay kickoff. The England manager has some injury concerns, particularly in defence, and his side will be very familiar with Norway's main attacking threat, Man City's Erling Haaland. He's already scored 7 goals in 4 games, but he was playing down Norway's prospects in advance of the game.
Playing against Brazil was kind of crazy for us Norwegians, and to win against Brazil and then go and play England in the quarterfinal in the World Cup in the USA is quite special. And I think if you watch at the scenes back in Norway, this is not normal for Norway to be, so it's super special.
We've become used to giant Hollywood mergers as the studios and streaming platforms seem to have been busy gobbling each other up for some time now. But Monday saw a giant domestic media deal formally announced as Sky bought ITV. The deal will see Sky, which is owned by US giant Comcast, take over ITV's channels, but not its production studios, in a deal worth £1.6 billion. Sky have said there will be no changes to ITV's public service obligations or to its popular programming, at least for the duration of the current licence, which runs to 2034. CEO of Sky UK Dana Strong says it's a good opportunity for the UK's creative industries.
So we've got 7 years of history of ITV coming together with Sky, which is 30-year track record of innovation. And when we put those together, we have the opportunity of creating a UK national streaming champion.
If you've ever tried to quit a contract with a streaming or service provider, you'll know it can be quite the ordeal. But Wednesday saw Ofcom step in and take firm action. Virgin Media have been fined £28 million for deliberately making it difficult for customers to cancel their contracts. The investigation found that over a 3-year period, millions of calls may have been mishandled, which included things like agents deliberately hanging up on callers and people getting put on hold for no reason. The size of the fine was reduced because Virgin Media offered an apology to the small proportion of customers who had experienced an issue. But Natalie Black, the group director of Ofcom, says the large fine is intended to send a message.
What we're doing is signalling that where companies break our rules, we will take firm action and make sure they pay the price. This isn't just about Virgin Media, it's about sending a signal to the whole sector.
The death was announced on Thursday of Welsh singer Bonnie Tyler at age 75. Tyler, whose real name was Gaynor Hopkins, lived in Portugal but had been in hospital for some time after complications from recent surgery. Her distinctive gravelly voice graced the charts in the 80s with hits like Total Eclipse of the Heart and Holding Out for a Hero. There were tributes to her from across the cultural spectrum, from Prime Minister Keir Starmer, who hailed her as one of Britain's greatest recording artists, to fellow legends like Tony Hadley and Rod Stewart. She had 3 Grammy nominations and was awarded an MBE in 2022. Her friend and contemporary Susie Quattro paid tribute to her on Radio 4. Rest in peace, Bonnie.
Oh, fun, intelligent, good sense of humour, a little wicked sense of humour, and a big talent. She's, had a great voice. Bless her, bless her. Rest in peace, Bonnie. I know she can hear me.
You've been listening to The Smart 7. We'll be back tomorrow at 7 a.m. Hit that follow button and have a great day. Give us 7 minutes and we'll give you the world.
You might not think about oil and natural gas, but it's a big part of your daily routine. From the soap you use to your toothpaste, even your bed sheets. More than 6,000 everyday products are made using oil and natural gas. Companies like Energy Transfer work behind the scenes, safely transporting these resources across the country through a network of underground pipelines. Learn more at ittakesenergy.com.